we have run well enough with little to show what our upside and ceiling could be with the right help.
He's a star because he's completely unfiltered.
13 are not going to make the race, not make the main event. That's going to be some good cars and drivers. That's not going to be, oh, that's just the back market, guys.
You know, you never know when you're just going to have an off weekend.
I've kind of gotten the ability to have the platform that I want, and it is my platform, and I can speak to whatever I feel like talking about.
We were in the mix, and it makes it a lot more fun when you're in the mix than you are just, struggling and trying to figure out what direction to go.
Yeah, it's tough, and sorry for being bouncy the roads here.
It's like if you have, the all-you-can-eat buffet every single day of the week, people are going to get tired of it, right? So if it's a special thing, I think people get more excited for it.
Hi, Bo.
Raise your hand up so she can see it. There you go.
Truthfully, even as a company, I think it was, very head-scratching why at the beginning all four of us just went instantly straight to the back. We just really struggled.
Well, welcome back on to the Backstretch, and hey, it is race weekend, our long 2-month nightmare or whatever it is, I joke on the nightmare, is over because we have cars on the track this week in California. The weather doesn't look all that great for the Clash at the Coliseum, but if Mother Nature decides to cooperate, then we will be racing. This is such a fascinating race for me because it's a non-points race. Not everybody's going to get in. 36 cars are going to show up to try to qualify, but only 23 are going to make the show. So there's always the intrigue and drama of who's going to get into the race. But just the architectural structure of this race fascinates me. Like, how did they get a racetrack inside a football stadium? Like the Battle of Bristol, and Chris and I are going to talk about this because he feels the same as me. The Battle of Bristol put a football stadium in a racetrack, and that makes sense. But a racetrack inside a football stadium that comes up and comes down is crazy to me. Like, the idea is just mind-blowing. So I'm really excited to see the action this week, and believe it or not, just 2 weeks away from the Daytona 500. The off-season went by very, very quickly. So coming up today in the show, Chris and I, as I mentioned, are going to talk about the Clash at the Coliseum, what we can kind of expect in year 3 of this race. We'll also talk about the keys to winning the Clash at the Coliseum, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Netflix show that debuted, the NASCAR show that debuted this week. I binged all 5 episodes in about a day and a half. I'm sure many of you did the same. So Chris is not a Netflix watcher, just so you know, but we're just going to talk about the idea of why a show like this is important to the sport. My guest this week is Corey LaJoie. Always love catching up with Corey because he is one of those guys with great insight. That's why his podcast, Stacking Pennies, is so successful, because Corey really understands the sport and gives a lot of great insight. This week, we're going to be talking to him about the Clash. He missed the Clash. I think he's missed the Clash both years that it's been in LA, and just their drive to get into that race, but also just the massive changes that have gone on at Spire in the offseason. It wasn't too long ago that Corey was a one-team operation out there in the Cup Series, and then they had one truck team. They now have 3 Cup Series teams and 4 truck teams running out of Spire Motorsports. So it's going to be a really challenging and exciting year for them. So let's get this party started. And we are joined by our crew chief, Chris Carrier. And Chris, it's race week. We're going to have cars on the track this weekend at the Clash. What are your thoughts about going back to LA for a 3rd season?
I think that the racing and the competition will be good for the teams themselves. Let's face it, it's all the way across the country, and it's a little bit of a hardship. It's a tough a tough task for those guys. A lot of miles back and forth across, and then in the early season they have a lot of West Coast traveling on top of that, back and forth. But NASCAR is committed to this. They've shown that, hey, this is going to happen. We're in on this. We're down for it, and we're going to make it happen. And it looks like it's going to happen for a while, And it's kind of cool stuff. It's on basically a quarter-mile track, literally around where a football field usually is, in a coliseum that is, very iconic. A lot of really good sports history has happened at that location. And I think the drivers look forward to it. I think they have a good time with it overall. And I think that area of the nation, that area obviously enjoys it. They embrace it. They're looking at TV ratings and turnout and so on and so forth, and apparently they like what they see. So, they're going to like a somewhat of a man-made Bowman Gray a venue, and then they turn right around and go to the next week to the Daytona 500 at a 2.5-mile racetrack that's like you run wide open 200 miles an hour, and that's about as different as you can get from one week to the next. So, it's the Cup Series. It is the best of the best in stock car racing in the world, and they're capable of doing this. These teams, I think, deserve a lot of credit for being able to do what they do to pull this off. I'm just amazed. I'm floored at how they convert that thing from a racetrack to a football field, and all the things they have going on. I don't know who's in charge of that out there. But man, whoever it is, you're doing a really good job. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure the teams would love it. It was maybe at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, but
like that.
that's NASCAR wants to be in that venue, that part of the country, the Los Angeles area, the Hollywood crowd, and if that's where we're going, that's where we're going, and the guys are going to put on a good show.
Knoxville is usually one of the top ratings markets for NASCAR,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
maybe we could convince them to do Knoxville once.
I'd love it. I'd love to see it. Knowing that they played a football game at Bristol Speedway, and it was in my eyes, was a huge success. They had a ton of people turn out. They had a good, between two local schools, Tennessee and Virginia Tech, and I don't know what, to me it's not that far out of consideration to do something like that, because nowadays, well, they've proven it. They do it out there. They make a football field into a racetrack, pow, and then tear it up and make another football field. So the abilities are there, the technology's there. Why not?
Why not? I love it. So this week, everybody's talking about the Netflix series that came out. I know you probably haven't watched it because I know you, but I wanted to talk to you more about the idea of what this series is going to do for NASCAR as far as exposure. Mm-hmm. I've listened to some sports talk radio out of Kansas City. They were talking about it. Uh-huh. They don't usually talk about NASCAR on this series, but they've all watched it because it was on Netflix. People are talking about the breakout stars are Denny Hamlin and Booty Barker. Everybody is obsessed with Booty after this. After this, so from an exposure standpoint, what do you think about this series and getting it out to the masses?
Well, I look at it, from my eyes, old school eyes, I guess. The first thing I like to say is if Booty Barker is one of the focuses of this program, that's amazing. That's great, because in my eyes, he is just a great story. I mean, let's face it, people who overcome obstacles and go forward and just don't mind those obstacles and go on and succeed and do well, man, you don't get any better than that. And to me, Booty is kind of a hero. I know he don't want to hear that. He's just a guy who's a crew chief and doing the best he can, and he don't want to hear anything about what obstacles. But you know what? Good for him.
Well, he's a star because he's completely unfiltered.
Well, that Booty being unfiltered is going to be that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. But I think this is another step in the direction of trying to reach another fan base that's out there, trying to reach more people and grow this fan base. And Heather, the entertainment business, that's what it's all about. I mean, the quote old school people like my age, we go along, or are we really going to be looking for a Netflix series to talk about NASCAR racing, to be interested in NASCAR racing? No. But the generations that are behind us, the age groups that are behind us, yes. That's kind of what they do. That's what they look for. That's what interests them. And you know what? If it grows our sport and it makes that interest and it makes more people want to watch NASCAR racing on TV or go to the races, go to the events, or support other things that NASCAR racing is involved in, but to me, that's what we have to do. I mean, it's about entertainment business. Entertainment business is a pretty competitive business, and it's a pretty dog-eat-dog business. So everybody's out there, scratching for those support numbers and those rating numbers. That's going to enable them to go out and get sponsorship to sell that TV time and all that. So to me, it's great, and I think Denny Hamlin and Booty Barker, and there's going to be others. They're the people that are the heart of our sport. They're in the Cup Series. They're there every week, every day. They're in the battles. Denny Hamlin is, I would say, one of the most controversial people that we have now. He gets cheers. He gets a lot of boos. And it kind of, you can tell, he just kind of eats it up and goes on. And he wins his share of races. He's a great race driver. Some people love to love him and some people love to hate him. But that's going to mean that people are going to watch that show. Yeah. For whatever reason. They're going to watch that show and they're going to support it, and it's going to generate interest. So, you know what? If it works, if it does the job, then so be it. More power to them.
So this weekend at the Coliseum, what are you expecting? Every charter team has to go out there. Not everyone's going to make the big show. So that makes it different than most weekends. So what is the challenge going out to LA?
Well, we were at Spire, used to be KBM, yesterday, pulling our Daytona truck down. And I was talking to Brian Patty, who's one of the Truck Series crew chiefs there. But, of course, he spent a lot of time in the Cup Series. Very good crew chief, very smart man. And we a group of us were talking about that. And I was asking about, okay, what's the details of this? Because they have 3 Cup cars going from that shop. And he said, it all boils down to you're going to have to qualify. It's all about how you qualify, because 36 cars entered, I believe is correct, and they're going to start 23. So that means 13 are not going to make the race, not make the main event. That's going to be some good cars and drivers. That's not going to be, that's just the back marker guys. They want that. No.
Well, I believe the first year Brad Keselowski did not make the race the first year.
I believe you're correct about that. Yeah. There's going to be some good cars with big name drivers in it that won't make that race, and it's going to come down to you just got to go out there when it comes time to qualify. You're not going to know everything to expect. You're going to have to react on a blink of an eye in all the corners, and coming off the corner, be able to manage that throttle to where you can shoot off that corner and get good straightaway speed without spinning your tires. That's not going to be easy. That it is not going to be easy. It's I'd say most of those drivers will tell you that's going to be tougher than actually trying to qualify at Martinsville, which has always been the rule of thumb. Qualifying at Martinsville is the hardest track throughout, because you can't get enough heat in those tires to get those rear tires to grip. Okay, and if you try to tighten the car up enough to where you get real good forward bite or rear grip, then the front won't turn. So it's a big bounce, and a lot of it just falls on the driver's shoulders and able to use that foot and be able to adjust on what the car gives them to get a speed in. And that's, you think, golly, you go all the way to Los Angeles and it comes down to that, and you make one little slip up, you're not even going to get to race in the main event. That's how much pressure is going to be on them. And don't think for 1 second that when they roll out there, the mindset of those drivers is going to be, this isn't even a points race. It doesn't really matter. I don't really care. That is not. They're going to be the guy that, I want to be the best one here.
Well, first of all, we are joined by Corey LaJoie, driver number 7 for Spire Motorsports. First of all, thanks for joining us, Corey.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to start seeing some smiling faces that I'm used to seeing. That means we're about to go racing. So all is good here.
Yeah, it's crazy to think it doesn't even seem like that long that everybody was staying in Phoenix, and now we are getting ready to go out to uh out to California to get things cranked up. Your off season, was it good? Was it fast? Was it productive? How do you feel coming off the off season?
I think it checked all the boxes, right? You need to take a couple weeks, months, whatever, everybody's kind of threshold is of when they need to reset, because by the end of 36 weeks, you're really burnt. Just it's hard to get just not even excited, because you're excited every Sunday afternoon, but the emotional and physical toll on your body, with your nervous system just cranked on all the time for 38 weeks, is pretty exhausting. So to reset that, to get some opportunity to go on vacation, hang out with the family, catch up on things you kind of been putting off for the couple months leading up towards the end of the season, it was certainly good. So I got a lot accomplished. We moved houses, so that was a good
Wow.
transition. Got in there before Christmas. Went to see some buddies out in Salt Lake. Um, spent a couple days there, and sure enough, it seems like it was dragging by over Christmas and over New Year's. Then instantly, you start taking pictures and you start getting the new fire suits, and you see cars starting to get developed. It starts making you excited for this weekend.
So, I mean, here we are this weekend. What do you have for the clash out at Daytona? What's the goal?
Well, I think our company wide goal is to put as many cars in the show as possible. We've struggled as an organization out there the last 2 years. For certain reasons you can kind of point to and look, but we just haven't had a car that drives well and had good pace. So we've got a lot more help and resources in terms of just making our cars drive good. I think we had a good plan going into the event. And we also want to start off the year on a good foot with Celsius. They've been a partner of mine for now 2 years. And, they were on the pole there last year with Justin and Haley. So you want to make sure we give those guys a run they're used to executing on. So I'm a short track guy at heart. That's kind of where I cut my teeth. So it's been frustrating going out there the last couple of years and struggling. So I think we can really go in there with some different perspectives and really let it hang out. Put our 7 Celsius Camaro on the show, and hopefully we can find our way towards the front and have a good day.
You mentioned added resources. It really has been like an exciting off season, kind of last third of the season for Spire. How excited are you guys for all the changes? Because this is not even the same organization that you came to a couple of years ago.
It's completely different. It's the same logo, but I mean it is a different team from top to bottom in terms of leadership, with Doug Ducart coming in over the offseason. That was a tremendous get. He knows all the players and all the politics and how to build a winning race team. He's done it everywhere he's been. So for him to bring that knowledge and that culture over to our place is something we needed. Just some more engineering depth as well, to try to take some of the weight off Ryan Sparks' plate and let him just really worry about trying to make our 7 team go stronger. And we combined Spire corporate over there in Cornelius' office, and all the sales and marketing and hockey and everything's under one building, right? So you're having a lot of different conversations. You're trying to get everybody pulling the rope the same direction, and then you acquire 4 truck teams also in the process of us acquiring KBM. So you inject all those people into the fold. You're cramming and you're moving trucks around. You're building cup cars, and you're trying to figure out what goes where. My guys have been really busy over the last couple of months trying to get settled in this new shop, but the shop's unbelievable. I think it brings a lot of pressure, not even so much pressure, but expectations, because I'll tell you, there are a lot of empty spaces in the trophy cases here. Kyle Busch and Kyle Busch Motorsports won a lot of races, and we have a lot of work to do to put some trophies in these cases to start filling them up, but I think we have the right people to do that.
For your little 7 team, you and Ryan and the guys that have been there, is there a sense of accomplishment in this expansion? Because if you guys weren't performing or showing people something, then other people don't want to invest. They don't want to come on board. They don't want to help make this grow. So, I mean, is there maybe a little bit of proud papa or a sense of accomplishment for you guys?
I feel that way, but I also feel like there's so much more work that we're going to accomplish, and things I'm going to do. I'm going to keep developing and evolving as a driver. I feel as excited, if not more excited, going into this year as I did my first. Just because I know that our competitiveness as a team is going to be better than it's ever has, and we've continued to up our budget, we've upped our depth, we've upped our resources each and every year, and the competition's reflected that. So for us to set out 4 years ago with the plan of trying to get to this point, and for us to actually achieve it, I don't think is we don't expect a party or articles to be written about it, but when you actually stick with a program and you build it, and you there's opportunities to go elsewhere with cars moving and shaking, but I've always felt like this is home. And also there is some pride in building this thing to what it is now. And granted, Jeff Dickerson and TJ are the ones that are making the big gambles in the sport and assuming the debt and figuring out the partners and all that sort of stuff. And that stuff is much less stressful, or much more stressful than what I have to do, right? My job is to try to drive in circles as fast as possible. But to your point, like, I feel like we have run well enough with little to show what our upside and ceiling could be with the right help. Then you get partners like Celsius and Gamebridge and guys like Dan Towers and stuff like that start catching their eye. And that's when we really started getting some traction off the track, and start, people start answering your phone a little bit quicker on the first ring, and people start reaching out about, if there's a job opening there, as opposed to just getting who's ever left each and every year. We've gotten, over 10 to 15 hires from other teams that were a crucial part of their organization, of what they were doing each and every day. So come over to our place and have instantly brought value. So I think that, I would like to think that comes from the hard work that Ryan Sparks and I put in, because really and truly it was just on our back for the last 3 years. And it still will be, because I think all of us, whether it's me, Carson, or Zane, want to be the first one to truly hang a banner in this new shop.
So for my final take, I want to talk a little bit about the Netflix show, because I adored it. NASCAR has needed this for quite some time. For those of you that are like me and old enough to remember the Speed Channel used to do this very well for NASCAR fans, giving access with NASCAR 360 and NBS 24/7. You got to see what these drivers were doing all the time. But what the Netflix show does so well is that they allow for people who aren't NASCAR fans to get a glimpse inside of our world. As many of you probably know, if you follow me on social media, I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan, grew up in Kansas City, listen to sports talk on the app out of Kansas City a lot. They never talk about racing. They were talking about this show this week. They were watching because it was on Netflix. They'd all watched Drive to Survive. They enjoyed it. They wanted to give this a go. And so it's just giving people the opportunity to check out NASCAR that aren't NASCAR fans. Yes, NASCAR fans can absolutely enjoy this show. But I like to say this all the time when people complain about music or this or that. It's not for you. You can enjoy it, but it's not for you. Like, Nicki Minaj is not for me. I'm a 50-year-old woman, but I can enjoy Nicki Minaj. She's all right. Not my exact cup of tea. And you're absolutely allowed to feel that way about this show. I thought it was fantastic. I think it's going to be great for the sport. And I hope they do this again going forward. Thanks for joining us on the Backstretch. We'll see you next week.